The doorbell rang at exactly 7:43 p.m. on a Tuesday. I wasn't expecting anyone, and DoorDash definitely wasn't bringing me dinner. I'd learned long ago to cook for myself. When I opened the door, I almost laughed at the cosmic joke standing on my porch. My parents, looking smaller and grayer than I remembered, wearing expressions I'd never seen on their faces before. Was that desperation? I'm Sarah, and the last time I'd seen Carl and Helen, Mom and Dad feels wrong after all these years. They were helping my sister Julia move into her corner office at some fancy consulting firm. I hadn't been invited, but I saw the photos on Facebook. The same Facebook where they'd proudly shared every single one of her accomplishments while my college graduation photos gathered dust in a drawer somewhere. Sarah, honey, Helen's voice cracked. Can we come in? I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe of my beautiful Victorian home, the home I'd bought myself without a penny of their help. That depends. Are you lost? Carl cleared his throat. Please, sweetheart, we need to talk. Sweetheart? I couldn't help but laugh. That's new. Last time we spoke, you told me I was being dramatic about not being able to afford textbooks. But I let them in. Curiosity is a powerful thing, and I'd waited years to see them squirm. They sat awkwardly on my leather couch, looking out of place among the success they'd never expected me to achieve. Helen's eyes darted around the room, probably calculating the cost of everything she saw. Beautiful home, she managed. Thanks. Turns out working 3 jobs through college taught me a lot about managing money. The barb landed. Carl flinched. About college, he started. Oh, you mean when you drained my college fund to send Julia to Harvard Business School? I kept my voice light, casual. Water under the bridge. I mean, it's not like I had to eat ramen for 2 years straight or anything, or work night shifts at that sketchy diner, or take out loans I just finished paying off last year. We made mistakes, Helen whispered. Did you? Because I remember you being pretty confident about your choices at the time. What was it you said, Dad? Julia's education is an investment in the family's future? The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. We're here because, Carl's voice faltered, because Julia's perfect life isn't so perfect anymore? I finished for him. Yeah, I heard about the divorce and the credit card debt, and the fact that she's been borrowing from your retirement fund. Their shocked faces told me everything. They didn't expect me to know. They didn't expect me to be successful. They didn't expect me to be sitting here, calm and collected, while their world fell apart. How did you? Helen started. I'm a product manager at one of the biggest tech companies in the country. Information is kind of my thing. I leaned forward. Just like I know you're facing foreclosure on the house where you raised your golden child while treating me like an afterthought. The doorbell rang again. This time, I knew exactly who it was. Come in, I called out. Julia burst through the door, designer handbag swinging wildly. Mom, Dad, why are you here? I told you I'd handle it. Handle what exactly? I asked, though I already knew. The mess you made? The money you burned through? Or were you planning to manipulate them into selling their house to cover your mistakes? Again? You don't understand, Julia snapped. Some of us had real careers to maintain, real responsibilities. Right, because working my way through college while you partied at Harvard was me being irresponsible. We're losing everything. Helen interrupted, tears streaming down her face. The house, our savings. Sarah, please, you're our only hope. I stood up slowly, smoothing down my silk blouse, the one I'd bought myself, like everything else in my life. That's funny, I said quietly. I remember saying those exact words to you 12 years ago when I was begging you not to take my college fund, when I needed my parents. Remember what you said then? They didn't answer. They didn't have to. You said, you'll figure it out. And you know what? I did. I walked to my front door and opened it. So here's what's going to happen. You're all going to leave right now, but tomorrow night we're having dinner, all of us, and I'll bring papers. Papers? Carl asked. I smiled, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in my father's eyes. Yes, papers. Because if you want my help, it's going to cost you, and I'm not talking about money. I spent the next morning in my home office, typing furiously while my best friend Simone paced behind me. You're really going to make them sign all this? She peered over my shoulder at the document I was drafting, every single word. I hit print and watched the pages stack up. They want my help. These are my terms. Girl, this is delicious. Simone picked up the first page. But what if they refuse? Then they lose everything. I shrugged, just like they were willing to let me lose everything. My phone buzzed. It was Lionel, my business partner. The restaurant's confirmed for 7. Private room, like you asked. Perfect. You're still coming, right? Wouldn't miss it. Someone needs to keep you from committing murder. I laughed, but part of me knew he wasn't entirely joking. The restaurant was upscale enough to make my parents uncomfortable, but not so fancy that they could accuse me of showing off. I arrived early with Leonel and Simone, the stack of papers tucked safely in my bag. Helen and Carl arrived first, looking like they'd aged another decade overnight. Julia swept in 10 minutes late, wearing clothes that probably cost more than their monthly mortgage payment. Really, Sarah? She gestured at Leonel and Simone. You needed to bring backup? They're here as witnesses, I said calmly, pouring myself a glass of wine. And moral support. Witnesses to what? Carl's voice was sharp with anxiety. To the truth, all of it. I pulled out the papers. But first, let's order. I'm starving. The waiter came and went. Small talk died a painful death. Finally, Helen cracked. Sarah, please, we're your family. Are we? I set down my fork. Because family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't play favorites. Family doesn't. Oh, here we go again, Julia interrupted. Poor Sarah, always the victim. Leonel's hand tightened on his water glass. Careful, he warned. No, let her talk, I said. Tell us, Julia. Tell us how much money you've borrowed from mom and dad in the last 5 years. She paled. That's none of your business. Wrong. It became my business when they showed up at my door asking for help. I pulled out my phone. Should I read the numbers? Because I have them. All of them. How dare you? $50,000 for your down payment, $30,000 for your wedding, $125,000 for your business venture that failed spectacularly. And let's not forget the credit cards you opened in mom's name. Helen gasped. Carl's face went red. Julia, he whispered, tell me that's not true. They offered to help. Julia's voice rose hysterically. They wanted to. Like they wanted to help me? I pulled out another document. This is a copy of my college fund statement from 2010. The day before you emptied it for Julia's grad school, it had 87 $32 in it. My money. Money Grandma left specifically for my education. We thought, Helen started. You thought Julia deserved it more. You always thought Julia deserved more. I spread the papers across the table. Well, now it's my turn to decide who deserves what. What are these? Carl picked up the first page. My conditions. There are 10 of them. Sign them all, and I'll help save your house. Refuse, and you can figure it out yourselves. I smiled. You know, like I had to. Julia snatched the papers. Her face went from pale to red as she read. This is insane. A public apology, family therapy, community service. She threw the papers down. She's trying to humiliate us. No, Simone spoke up. She's trying to make you understand what you did to her. We did what we thought was best, Carl insisted. Best for who? Leonel asked quietly. Because from where I'm sitting, your best choices destroyed one daughter while enabling the other to commit fraud. The word fraud fell like a bomb on the table. Julia stood up so fast her chair toppled backward. You can't prove anything. Actually, I pulled out one final document. I can. Mom, is this your signature on Julia's last loan application? Helen's hands shook as she examined the paper. No, she whispered. No, I never signed this. Julia's designer bag hit the floor. Her face crumpled. I needed the money, she sobbed. The divorce. Silas was going to take everything. Sign the papers, I said firmly, or I'll make sure the bank sees this. Your choice. Carl reached for his pen first. Helen followed, tears streaming down her face. Julia just stood there, shaking. Tick tock, I said softly. The clock's running out, just like it did for me 12 years ago. The pen scratched against paper, one signature after another. When they finished, I gathered the documents carefully. Dinner's over, I announced. I'll be in touch about next steps. I stood up, then paused. Oh, and Julia, Don't bother trying to leave town. That would void the agreement immediately. As we walked out, Simone squeezed my hand. You okay? I took a deep breath of the cool night air. I'm just getting started. 3 days after the restaurant showdown, I sat in my living room with Lionel, reviewing the final version of what we'd started calling the Reckoning Plan. Your parents called again, he said, scrolling through his phone. That's 5 times today. Let them sweat. I checked my watch. They'll be here in an hour anyway. The doorbell rang early. It was Julia, alone and looking decidedly less polished than usual. We need to talk, she said, pushing past me into the house, before Mom and Dad get here. By all means, come in, I muttered, closing the door. Julia paced my living room, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood. Look, I know I messed up, but there has to be another way. Another way? I crossed my arms. Like what? More loans? More fraud? I can pay it back. She ran her hands through her hair. I just need time. Time? Leonel laughed from the couch. Like the time Sarah needed to finish college without going into debt? Julia spun toward him. This isn't about you. You're right, I said quietly. It's about accountability. Something you've never had to face. The doorbell rang again. This time it was my parents, right on schedule. Helen's eyes were red rimmed, and Carl looked like he hadn't slept in days. Sit down. I gestured to the couch. We have a lot to discuss. Before we start, Carl cleared his throat. We want you to know we've been thinking about everything you said. Really? I pulled out a folder. Then let's test that. Mom, do you remember what you said when I called you crying about not being able to afford my textbooks? Helen shifted uncomfortably. Sarah, that was so long ago. You said, maybe you should have studied harder for scholarships like your sister. I was working 30 hours a week and maintaining a 3.8 GPA. I didn't mean, Dad, what about when I got that internship at the tech company, the one that led to my current job? I turned to him. What did you say? Carl looked at the floor. I don't recall. You said it was cute that I was playing with computers while Julia was doing real business. I opened the folder. I kept every email, every text, every dismissive comment. Want to read them? This is ridiculous, Julia snapped. We get it. You're bitter. Bitter? Leonel stood up. Your sister built herself from nothing while you were stealing from your own parents, and you have the audacity to call her bitter? I didn't steal. Show them, I cut in. Show them your bank statements from the last 5 years. Show them where the money went. Julia's face crumpled. I can't. Because you spent it all on designer clothes, luxury vacations, that sports car you totaled. Stop it, Helen cried. Please just tell us what you want. I pulled out the first document. Condition 1, you will write a detailed account of everything you did, every penny you took from my college fund, every opportunity you gave Julia while denying me, every time you chose her over me. You will email this to our entire extended family. That's humiliating, Carl protested. Yes, I agreed. It is. Condition 2, Julia will confess to the loan fraud. In writing, I'll keep it as insurance. Julia started to object, but I held up my hand. Condition 3, you will all attend family therapy. Together. For at least 6 months. And if we do all this, Helen whispered, you'll help save the house? No. I smiled. If you do all this, I'll consider letting you rent the house from me. The room went silent. What do you mean? Rent from you? Carl's voice shook. I bought it. I pulled out the paperwork. At the foreclosure auction last week. As of yesterday, I own the house you raised your perfect daughter in. Ironic, isn't it? Julia launched herself off the couch. You evil bit! Leonel stepped between us. Careful! Assault would void the agreement immediately. Why are you doing this? Helen sobbed. We're your family. Family? I laughed. Family doesn't make their child work at a dangerous diner until 3 a.m. to afford basic necessities. Family doesn't mock their child's career choices while funding another's shopping addiction. Family doesn't destroy one child's future to prop up another's facade. I stood up, gathering my documents. You have 24 hours to decide. Sign the papers, follow my conditions, and you can stay in the house as my tenants. Refuse, and you can all figure out where to live next week. You wouldn't, Julia whispered. Try me. I walked to the door and opened it. Oh, and Julia, I've already spoken to Silas. He's very interested in testifying about your financial activities during the divorce, just in case you're thinking of running. They filed out silently. Broken. As I closed the door, Leonel put his hand on my shoulder. You okay? I took a deep breath. I've never been better. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Silas, Julia's ex husband. Just got a threatening call from Julia. Thought you should know. I forwarded the message to Leonel, who called immediately. Want me to send the evidence to the bank now? He asked. Not yet. Let's see what they do next. I didn't have to wait long. At exactly noon, Julia stormed into my office, bypassing security somehow. Her mascara was smeared, and she clutched a crumpled stack of papers. You talked to Silas? She hissed. My ex husband? I didn't look up from my computer. You should have knocked. He's going to tell them everything, the credit cards, the gambling, the offshore account. I finished, finally meeting her eyes. Yeah, he mentioned that. She collapsed into the chair across from my desk. How did you find out? I'm good at what I do, Julia. Really good, something you and Dad never bothered to notice. I closed my laptop. Did you bring the signed papers? She threw them on my desk. Mom and Dad signed. I won't. Then I guess you better start packing. You don't understand. She leaned forward, desperate. I'll lose everything. My reputation, my friends. Like I lost my chance at a normal college experience? I stood up. Security's on their way. You can either sign now or explain to them why you're trespassing. The door opened and two security guards appeared. Julia's hand shook as she grabbed a pen. I hate you, she whispered, signing each page. No, I replied calmly. You hate that you're finally facing consequences. After she left, Simone came by with lunch. Your sister just ran past me crying. Good meeting? She signed. I showed her the papers. They all did. So what's next? Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was Helen. We need to meet, she said. All of us, one last time. We gathered at my house that evening. Carl and Helen sat stiffly on the couch while Julia huddled in an armchair. Leonel and Simone flanked me like bodyguards. We've signed everything, Carl said. What more do you want? Honesty. I pulled out an old letter. Like about this, Mom. Want to read it out loud? Helen's face went white. Where did you get that? Found it in Julia's room while helping her pack for college, the one you paid for. I unfolded the paper. Should I read it instead? Sarah, please. Dearest Julia, I began. I know you're worried about your sister's attitude lately, but remember, she was our backup plan. We only had her because the doctors said you might not be able to have children. You're our real miracle. The room went deadly quiet. I was 13 when I found this, I continued. 13 when I learned I was just an insurance policy. It wasn't like that, Helen sobbed. Really? Because that explains a lot. Why you always chose her, why my accomplishments never mattered, why you could steal my future without a second thought. We made mistakes, Carl started. Mistakes? Simone cut in. You emotionally abused your daughter for years. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And now you're facing the consequences of those choices, Leonel added. I pulled out one final document. This is the rental agreement for the house. $3,000 a month, utilities not included. Take it or leave it. That's more than our mortgage was, Julia protested. Market rate, I shrugged, plus a small fee for emotional damages. You can't be serious, Carl stood up. We're your parents. No, I said quietly. You're my tenants, and you're late with your first payment. Julia launched herself at me, but Lionel caught her arm. Remember the assault clause, he warned. You have until Friday to pay, I continued as if nothing had happened. And Julia, the guest house is not included in the lease. Find your own place. Where am I supposed to go? She cried. You'll figure it out, I echoed their words from years ago. Now get out, all of you. They left one by one, Helen crying, Carl silent, Julia shaking with rage. When the door closed, Simone hugged me. You did it, she whispered. Not yet. I looked at the stack of papers on my coffee table. This is just the beginning. What do you mean? Leonel asked. I picked up my phone, showing them an email from Silas. Turns out Julia's been hiding more than just credit card debt, and tomorrow everyone's going to know exactly what kind of person she really is. Sarah, Lionel warned, be careful. Revenge can consume you. This isn't revenge, I said, typing a response to Silas. This is justice, and it's long overdue. The email from Silas contained exactly what I needed: bank statements, hidden accounts, and a trail of financial destruction that would destroy Julia's carefully crafted image. But before I could use it, she showed up at my door at midnight, mascara streaked down her face. You won, she slurred, clearly drunk. Happy now? I should have closed the door. Instead, I let her in. You're drunk, I stated flatly. Call an Uber. Did you know, she stumbled to my couch, that Dad always said you were the smart one? Sarah's so responsible, he'd say. Sarah never needs help. She laughed bitterly. That's why they helped me instead, because you could handle everything yourself. That's not help, Julia. That's neglect. Oh, please. She stood up, swaying. You got everything you wanted anyway. Look at this house. Look at your perfect life. I got nothing from them, I snapped. Everything I have, I earned. While you were partying at Harvard on my college fund, I was working midnight shifts at that disgusting diner. While you were charging designer clothes to mom's credit cards, I was eating ramen and selling my textbooks to pay rent. At least you're strong, she screamed. They made me weak. They gave me everything, and now I can't survive without them. The truth of her words hung in the air between us. That's not my fault, I said quietly. No? She stepped closer. Then why are you punishing me along with them? Because you knew. I met her eyes. You knew that money was meant for my education. You knew every time you asked them for more, they'd give it to you. You knew what you were taking from me, and you didn't care. I was their miracle baby, she whispered, their perfect daughter. And now you're neither. I pulled out my phone. Silas sent me everything, Julia: the gambling debts, the secret credit cards, the money you stole from his company before the divorce. She lunged for my phone. I stepped back, and she stumbled, catching herself on the wall. You can't tell them, she begged. Please, they'll never forgive me. Like they never forgave me for not being you. I'll do anything, she was crying now. I'll get help. I'll pay everyone back. With what money? The trust fund you burned through? The savings you stole from mom and dad? She slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed through the room. I didn't flinch. Feel better? You're enjoying this, she accused, holding her hand. You love watching us suffer. No, I touched my stinging cheek. I'm just done protecting you. All of you. What do you want from me? She whispered. I want you to feel what I felt. That moment when you realize no one's coming to save you, that horrible, crushing loneliness of knowing your family chose someone else. They didn't choose me, she said softly. They trapped me. Every gift came with expectations. Every investment was another chain. Do you know what Dad said when I wanted to study art instead of business? Julia, darling, we didn't spend all this money for you to waste your potential. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The difference is you had a choice. You could have said no. You could have stood up for me. Instead, you took everything they offered and asked for more. She sank back onto the couch, defeated. So what happens now? Now? I sat across from her. Now you have two options. One, I send everything Silas gave me to the police, the banks, and our entire family. You face fraud charges, possible jail time, and complete social destruction. And option two? You tell the truth. All of it. You write down every manipulation, every lie, every dollar you stole. You admit what you did to me, to mom and dad, to Silas. You get professional help for your spending addiction, and you do it all publicly. That would ruin me, she whispered. No, I corrected her. That would free you. She stared at me for a long moment. You really think I can change? I think you have to. Because this? I gestured around me. This is your rock bottom. The only way out is through the truth. Julia stood up, steadier now. I need time to think. You have until tomorrow at noon. After that, I send everything to everyone. At the door, she turned back. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not just for tonight, but for everything. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't pay back 12 years of debt. After she left, I called Leonel. She came by, I told him. Drunk, angry, then apologetic. And? And tomorrow we'll see if she's really sorry or just sorry she got caught. Be careful, he warned again. Family secrets are dangerous things. So am I replied, touching my cheek where she'd slapped me. So am I." At 11:59 a.m. the next day, my inbox pinged. Julia's email arrived with seconds to spare, containing a document titled The Truth. Before I could open it, another email came from Helen. "We need to talk, all of us, one last time." I forwarded both emails to Leonel and Simone, then replied to Helen, "My house, 7 p.m." This time, when they arrived, something was different. Julia came alone, wearing jeans and a plain sweater instead of her usual designer outfit. Carl and Helen looked like they'd aged another decade since yesterday. "Before you say anything," Julia spoke first, "I want them to hear it from me." She pulled out a stack of papers and began reading. "My first theft was at 16. I stole mom's credit card to buy a prom dress. When she found out, she paid the bill and told me not to worry about it. That was the beginning." Helen started to speak, but Julia held up her hand. "Please, let me finish." She took a deep breath. "By college, I was spending thousands monthly on clothes, parties, and drugs. When Sarah's college fund disappeared into my grad school tuition, I knew it was wrong, but I convinced myself I deserved it." "Julia, stop," Carl pleaded. "No, Dad. They need to know what their perfect daughter really did." She turned a page. "I forged Mom's signature on loans. I emptied joint accounts. I stole from Silas's company. The total amount," she swallowed hard, "is just over $800,000. The room went completely silent. 800, Helen whispered, swaying slightly. "That's not counting Sarah's college fund," Julia continued, "or the money I borrowed directly from you. Altogether, I've destroyed over $1 million of this family's money." Carl sat down heavily. "Why?" "Because I could." Julia's voice cracked. "Because you taught me that money equals love, and I needed so much love." I stayed quiet, watching them unravel. "I've sent copies of my confession to the bank," Julia said, "and to Silas. I'm meeting with the police tomorrow to turn myself in." "No!" Helen cried. "We can fix this." "That's the problem, Mom," I finally spoke. "You've been fixing things for Julia her whole life. Look where that got us." "Sarah didn't make me do this," Julia added quickly. "She gave me a choice. I chose the truth." "The truth?" Carl laughed bitterly. "The truth is, we failed, both of you, in different ways." "No," I corrected him. "You failed Julia by never setting boundaries. You failed me by setting nothing but boundaries." Leonel, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "The rental agreement needs to be finalized tonight, and there's one more condition." I pulled out a new document. "Family therapy, all of us, once a week. After everything, you still want—" Helen trailed off. "I want you to understand what you did. Really understand. Not just the money, but the damage." I handed them each a copy. "Sign, and you can stay in the house. Don't sign, and you'll need to be out by Friday." Julia spoke up again. "I won't be staying. I've found a small apartment, and after I deal with the legal issues—" She paused. "I'm checking into rehab for shopping addiction and substance abuse." For the first time in years, I felt a flicker of respect for my sister. "Good," I said simply. Carl signed first, then Helen. As they stood to leave, Julia handed me one last paper. "What's this?" I asked. "A letter I should have written years ago. Don't read it until I'm gone." After they left, Simone hugged me tight. "You okay?" "I don't know," I admitted. "It feels unfinished," Leonel suggested. "Real," I corrected. "For the first time in my life, everything feels real." I opened Julia's letter, reading it aloud. "Dear Sarah, you were right about everything. But you were wrong about one thing. I wasn't their perfect daughter. I was their perfect puppet. You were the strong one, the real one, the one I wished I could be. I'm sorry for every dollar I took, every opportunity I stole, every time I stayed silent when they hurt you. I'm sorry I needed to lose everything to finally tell the truth. Don't forgive me. I haven't earned that." Just know that your little sister finally grew up, thanks to you. Julia. Leonel took the letter gently from my hands. What now? I looked around my beautiful home, bought with my own money, filled with my own achievements. Now we see if they can handle the truth as well as they handled the lies. And Julia? Simone asked. Julia made her choice, I said, picking up the therapy schedule. Now she has to live with it, just like I had to live with theirs. The first family therapy session was exactly as awkward as I expected. Dr. Martinez sat calmly in her office while we arranged ourselves like opposing armies. Me on one couch, my parents on another, with Julia's empty seat between us like a ghost. Julia couldn't be here, Helen began, because she's in court today. I finished. I know. Silas kept me updated. Did you have to encourage her to turn herself in? Carl's voice was tight with anger. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Carl, is that what you're most upset about? Julia facing consequences? I'm upset that Sarah used this situation to destroy our family. Your family was already destroyed, I said quietly. I just made you look at the wreckage. Perhaps, Dr. Martinez suggested, we should start with how we got here. Helen pulled out a tissue. We thought we were doing our best. Really? I couldn't help myself. Your best was telling me I didn't deserve college. Your best was watching me work dangerous jobs while funding Julia's shopping addiction. We didn't know about the addiction, Carl protested. But you knew about my suffering. You just didn't care. Dr. Martinez held up her hand. Sarah, tell them directly how that made you feel. I turned to face my parents fully. It made me feel worthless, like I was a backup plan that didn't work out. Helen flinched. That letter, I never meant for you to see it. But you meant what you wrote. The silence was deafening. Yes, she finally whispered. At the time, I did. Carl started to speak, but his phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the message. Julia got 6 months, he said, plus probation and mandatory rehabilitation. Good, I said firmly. She needs it. How can you be so cold? Helen cried. Dr. Martinez intervened. Is it cold to want accountability? Or is it healthy? I don't understand. Carl shook his head. How did we end up here? Let me help you understand. I pulled out my old diary. This is from the night I found Mom's letter. I was 13. I opened to a marked page and read, Dear Diary, today I learned I'm nobody's miracle. Mom and Dad only had me because they were afraid Julia would die. Everything makes sense now. Why they love her more. Why nothing I do is good enough. I'm just the backup that wasn't needed. Helen was sobbing now. Carl looked like he'd been punched. Sarah, Dr. Martinez said gently, what do you want from your parents now? I want them to feel what I felt. That moment of realizing you're not enough. That your own parents see you as plan B. We see you now, Carl said quietly. No, I corrected him. You see my success, my house, my power over you. You still don't see me. Then help us see, Helen pleaded. I stood up and walked to the window. You want to see me? Fine. Come to my office tomorrow. Watch me work, meet my team, learn what your backup daughter actually does. You'd let us do that? Carl asked. One day, one chance. To see the person you could have been proud of all along. Dr. Martinez made a note. That's an excellent suggestion. Homework for next week. Carl and Helen will spend one workday observing Sarah. Sarah, you'll visit Julia in rehab. What? I spun around. That wasn't part of the deal. Healing goes both ways, she said simply. You've shown them your pain, now show them your strength, and maybe show Julia there's a path forward. As we left the session, Helen tried to hug me. I stepped back. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp, my office. Don't be late. That night, I called Simone. They're coming to the office tomorrow, I told her. Want me to accidentally spill coffee on them? I laughed, then stopped suddenly as tears started flowing. Sarah? Simone's voice softened. What's wrong? I don't know if I can do this, I admitted. Let them in again. See Julia. Keep pushing for whatever this is. It's called healing, babe, and you're already doing it. Am I, though? Or am I just finding new ways to punish them? Why can't it be both? She asked. You're making them face what they did while giving them a chance to do better. That's not punishment, that's growth. I wiped my eyes, looking at the family photo I'd kept hidden in my desk drawer. We were all smiling, but only Julia's smile reached her eyes. Tomorrow, my parents would see the real me, and soon I'd have to face the real Julia. One day at a time, I whispered, putting the photo away. One truth at a time, Simone corrected. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Tomorrow would be another battle, but for the first time, it felt like a battle worth fighting. The autumn breeze rustled through the rehab center's garden as I sat across from Julia. She looked different, healthier, but also smaller somehow, without her designer armor. You actually came, she said, fidgeting with her paper cup of coffee. Dr. Martinez insisted. I paused, and maybe she was right. Mom and Dad told me about visiting your office. Dad couldn't stop talking about your presentation to the board. Yeah, well, I shrugged. Turns out their backup plan did okay. Sarah, Julia set down her cup. I saw the college fund paperwork during financial disclosure, the exact amount I took from you. I've been calculating how much it would be worth now, with interest. Why? Because I'm going to pay you back. Every penny. It'll take years, but keep it, I interrupted. Use it for therapy, or rehab, or whatever you need to stay clean. She stared at me. I don't deserve your kindness. This isn't kindness, it's investment in change. Don't waste it. Back at my house that evening, I found my parents waiting on the porch. They'd been living in the guest house for 3 weeks now, following my rules, attending therapy, doing the work. How is she? Helen asked as I approached. Better? Different. I unlocked the front door. Come in. We need to talk. They followed me inside, taking their usual spots on the couch. But something had shifted in the air between us. I've been thinking, Carl began, about what Dr. Martinez said about generational trauma, how my father treated me the same way I treated you. The difference is, you had a choice, I said. Yes? He looked me in the eye, and I chose wrong. We both did. Helen pulled out an envelope. We've been working on this for weeks. It's not enough, but inside was a letter, handwritten, addressed to the entire extended family. We're sending copies to everyone, she explained, confessing everything, how we hurt you, how we enabled Julia, how we failed as parents. It's time for the whole family to know the truth, Carl added. No more pretending. I read the letter slowly. Every painful detail was there, the college fund theft, the emotional abuse, the years of favoritism, but something else too, genuine remorse. There's more, Helen said quietly. We're selling our business. What? I looked up sharply. Your antique store? But that's your life. No, Carl corrected. It was our excuse, working endless hours instead of facing our failures as parents. The money from the sale, Helen continued, will be split equally between you and Julia. Not because you need it now, but because it's what we should have done all along. I don't want your money. We know, Carl said. That's why we're also donating half to a scholarship fund for students whose parents can't or won't help them. I sat back, studying their faces. The pride was gone, replaced by something more real, more human. You know this doesn't fix everything, I said finally. Nothing can fix the past, Helen agreed, but maybe we can build something new, something honest. My phone buzzed, a text from Julia. Thank you for coming today. For the first time in my life, I'm not trying to be perfect, just trying to be better. I showed them the message. Both our daughters, Carl said softly, turned out stronger than we ever imagined. No thanks to us. No, I agreed. But maybe thanks to this. All of it. The fall, the fight, the truth. I walked them to the door, but before they left for the guest house, I said something I never thought I would. Sunday dinner. Here, Julia will be out of rehab for the weekend. Really? Helen's eyes filled with tears. One dinner, no promises after that. And I'm cooking, no more of your fancy catering. We'll be here, Carl said. Just us. No pretenses. After they left, I called Lionel. They're trying, I told him. Really trying. And you? I'm trying too. Not to forgive, not yet, but to build something new from the ashes of what they burned. That's called healing, he said. No, I corrected him. That's called winning. Not by destroying them, but by forcing them to grow, to change, to face themselves. I looked at Julia's text again, then at the family letter, then at my beautiful home, built from my own strength. They said Julia was the better investment, I murmured, but I invested in myself, and that's the return they never saw coming. The autumn wind rattled my windows, carrying away the last traces of summer, and with it the last traces of who we used to be. Something new was growing in its place, something real, and this time we were all choosing to nurture it.